Hi, Miami Beachers. We are currently in the midst of runoff elections, and we have two candidates. Welcome to the battle of Monica and Monique. My name is Ava Frankel, and as you probably already know, I ran for commissioner this election season. I did not win, but the top two candidates in my group are going head-to-head in a runoff election. My goal is not to pick a side, it's to cultivate conversations and share information with you about both candidates so that you can make the best decision for you and for Miami Beach. Both have three-word names, Monica Matteo-Salinas and Monique Pardo. Who will you choose? To keep things fair, we're going to be asking both candidates the exact same questions so that you can choose who to vote for. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Ava. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate that you have been so warm and nice and sweet to me and to everyone really in the race.
Thank you.
It really has been a long and tough journey, but we're here now and we have always gotten along really well, and I appreciate you having me here today, Ava. Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.
I'm here with Monique Pardo, and I'm so happy to have you here.
I appreciate you. And thank you so much for having me this morning, Ava.
Thank you.
You're a doll, and I'm excited to start my Monday morning off with you.
Aw, thank you. Have had the pleasure of seeing you these last 3 months on the campaign trail. But for those who don't know you yet, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you lived in Miami Beach? And what's your favorite thing about our city?
So I lived in Miami Beach for 16 years. I grew up in Michigan, and I went to Michigan State University, and I have a bachelor's degree in public policy. Yes. And that was inspired because in high school, I took a class trip to DC, and I had never been to DC before, but we had this class trip, and I went there. And as soon as we got to Capitol Hill and I saw all the historic buildings and the Senate and the White House, and we went inside, and it was everyone in their business suits, and then just the Senate floor. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do this when I grow up.
Wow.
And I didn't know what this was, but I was just government, and who, I was such a nerd, right? Who says that? But I said that. And so then from high school, I went to Michigan State, and there's actually an honors college in Michigan State called James Madison College. And really, James Madison is for people who either want to go into law or lobbying or government, politics, public administration. So I graduated from there, and then I did a couple different things. After college, I wanted to learn Spanish, so I moved to Mexico for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned Spanish, and then I moved to New York City for 4 years, and then I moved here to Miami Beach. And I never looked back. I mean, I love Miami Beach, and I'm raising my children here. I have 2 boys that go to Beach High, go High Tides. And yeah, I've always wanted to do this. I started to get involved with campaigns with Kristen Rosa Gonzalez, who is a former commissioner in Miami Beach. And I worked on her campaign as her campaign manager in 2019. Unfortunately, she lost that year, but then we came back in 2021 and I worked on her campaign again, and she won.
Wow.
And then she hired me to be her legislative aide. So I worked as a legislative aide for her for about 1.5 years. And then Commissioner Alex Fernandez needed an aide. And so I transferred over to Commissioner Alex Fernandez and worked for him for 2 years. And then this spring, and I decided to run, and I knew that this year was a good year for me for a variety of reasons, which we can get into, or not. It was a personal decision. One of them, and I'll just quickly say that I wanted to run this year because my boys are in high school now. As I said, they go to Beach High, and I really wanted them to see their mom going after her dreams. Aww. And have this example of their mom working hard, going to debates, and doing what I've always kind of talked about doing, what I wanted to do, and before they went off to college. So, and I hope that inspired them to not only go after their dreams, but someday they're gonna be married and have a wife that needs to go after her dreams, and they will have kids and a daughter, so it was just a really important year for me, for my family. So that's why I chose this year. And so I guess that's my story.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
Have you
Ava.
ever run before?
Yes. Well, kind of. So in 2019, I actually did file to run, and I withdrew a week later.
Okay.
And
so like you didn't really run.
Yeah. It was 1 week, and then I remember at the time I was having conversations with the campaign manager, and he was like, "Okay, we've got to do this, we got to do that. Like, I need you knocking on doors, and then we're gonna go to this candidate debate." And he was like, kind of, and then it like in my mind. And I asked him, I go, "Who's going to put my kids to bed?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "Who's going to put my kids to bed?" And he was like, "Well, you're going to have to get a babysitter." And I was like, no. And at the time I had just gotten a divorce, and we were separated, and we had a split schedule where the boys were with my ex-husband 3 nights and me with 4. And I'm like, the 4 nights that they're with me, I'm not going to dip out on them and be like, "Okay, bye guys. Like, I'm going to go work on the camp." So I was like, this is wrong
And they were
timing.
younger.
They were younger.
Yeah.
They were 8 and 10. And
So
it was just bad
that's hard.
timing.
Yeah, that's really
So
hard.
this year I was ready.
And then you got to work on Kristen's campaign that same year.
Indeed. That's
and
right.
then what inspired you to switch from Kristen to Alex?
It was really just like me and Kristen had a great groove going on, and Alex needed an aide, and it just kind of like went well together. Like Alex was like, "Oh, I need an aide that's like, and he was like listing the requirements that he, someone with a public policy background, and someone who like knows government, who knows the resident, ideally who's someone who lives on Miami Beach."
Yeah.
And we all had a meeting, ideally, right? And we had a meeting about it, and Kristen, like we were just kind of informally talking, and Kristen was like, "Listen, it sounds like you need someone like Monica, and if you want Monica, I can find another aide." And she was actually very gracious about it, and he was very gracious about it was a really good conversation. And a lot of people are like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Nothing really happened. It just at that moment, Alex needed me more than Kristen."
Yeah,
I'll
that
be
makes
honest.
sense.
Yeah.
Of course, I've had the pleasure of seeing you these last 3 months on the campaign trail. But for those who don't know you yet, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you lived in Miami Beach? And what's your favorite thing about our city?
Okay, great. So I will begin this, and I'm sure you've heard this introduction numerous times because we've shared the stage on a number of forums. A little bit about who I am. My journey begins, my mother came from Cuba. She was a Pedro Pan immigrant, and she came in 1954, I believe. She was 3 years old. She came through the Catholic Church, and it was an experience for her that brought her to America. She was all alone, and so then she produced this life for herself, met my biological father. They got married and raised me in Hialeah. But as years went on, my stepfather and my mother purchased one of those micro units in North Beach. So I spent a number of my summers and my weekends here on Miami Beach. Grew up, went to Miami Sunset for senior high school. After that, I got a full ride to the University of Florida, which I'm a Gator, go Gators.
Yay.
And so she raised me, 3 jobs, single mom, until she met my stepfather and married him when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
But she instilled in me just an incredible work ethic, taught me about resiliency, taught me about how to overcome struggles and obstacles. After University of Florida, I graduated, I went to UCLA for law school, where I had a scholarship as well to attend law school in California, which is amazing. I was also in California for a number of years, where I studied entertainment, sports, and media specialization in law, and I really just absolutely loved my time in California. I learned so much. Following law school, I graduated and I moved to Manhattan, ironically enough, because I wanted to take the New York bar and live in Manhattan and pursue this life in Manhattan.
I feel like everyone young wants to do that.
You gotta do it. You
Yeah.
gotta do it. If you have the opportunity to go to Manhattan and live there and spend your 20s and just really experience what Gotham has to offer, it's the most incredible city in the world. And then I actually ended up falling into a position on Wall Street. And so I started at SAB Capital working under Scott Baumer, moved over to the trading desk at Cantor Fitzgerald, where I traded institutional equities, both international and domestic. And following that, I had a position at KKR in their client partner group.
Wow.
Yes. So that was my trajectory prior to coming home and coming back to my true passion, which is the law. Moved back to Miami Beach specifically in 2016. Met my husband. We got married in 2020, and now we've been here for close to a decade. Well, he's been here 25 years plus, but I've been here about close to a decade.
Wow.
And now I have my law practice on Miami Beach.
And then what's your favorite thing about our city?
Oh, well, our crown jewel, our beach.
I know, it's the best.
There's nothing better. And with a 5 and a 3-year-old, there's nothing better to do than just spend the day in the sand, playing with your children, getting that fresh salt air. If only our waters weren't so polluted, it would be perfect.
Yeah, it would be perfect. Also, I love hearing about how dynamic your various experiences are through the law school and then being on the trading desk. Like, that's such a wealth of experience and knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that it'll translate well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to also say that when you find something that you're passionate about and that you love, it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like something that you're like overcoming. And for me, being in finance and going and being in the law, and not only am I a family law practitioner, but I'm also a guardian ad litem. And so my advocacy extends to children's and families in the children's courts.
Will you explain what that means just for people
Sure.
who might not know?
Of course. So what we have is in these very high conflict cases, or in cases where they're indigent families that can't afford representation, and we're dealing with a possible custody battle or a paternity suit or something involving human trafficking, sexual exploitation, abuse, a judge has the right to appoint a guardian ad litem to make sure that that minor child in that case is being advocated for, because we have a best interest of the child standard in Florida, and it's statute. And so what they do is they appoint a guardian ad litem. Typically, this is an attorney, but you don't have to necessarily be an attorney. There's no certification for it in Florida. However, most of the time it's an appointment by an attorney. And so that attorney takes on the case and does an investigation. And they'll interview collaterals. They'll interview the parents. They'll sit with the child. They'll speak to teachers and doctors and therapists. They will evaluate the children in their home, at their parents' homes. Wow. And then they will say, at the end of a very extensive investigation, they will say to the judge, depending on what the judge wants you to focus on, say, Your Honor, I think this child should be with their mother for XYZ reasons. I think that this child should be with their father for XYZ reasons. This child should be taken out of their home because of this. And so the impact that you could ultimately make in a child's life is very, very poignant and important, and that's why you must be so thorough and you become part of that case because you love these kids and you want to make sure that they're successful and that they're safe.
That's amazing that you do that. What's the first thing you'd fix if you had a magic wand in Miami Beach?
Oh my gosh, what would I fix in Miami Beach? Oh, just one thing. I can only
Yeah, one thing. First thing, if you had a magic wand, bippity boppity boo.
I would, oh my gosh, that's so hard, Ava, because like I could tell you from a government perspective, but I could also tell you from just like a neighborly perspective,
both.
You know? Okay, so from a neighborly perspective, I guess I would fix the fact, I want everybody in Miami Beach to like start getting along better. And some of us do, but there's also like this undercurrent of like infighting and divisiveness that I really think that we need to rise above over, you know, because we're all neighbors.
Well, that's what we're doing here.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you that every time I knocked on a door, regardless of who the person was or if we had anything in common, I was like, we are going to connect. I'm going to find, because we're neighbors. We're neighbors. Like you might live in North Beach and I might live in South Beach, but we have things in common.
Everyone.
You know? Yeah. And we live in Miami Beach because we love it. So let's start there.
What's the first thing that you would fix in Miami Beach if you had a magic wand?
If I had a magic wand, I would get to the basics and I would get to the really boring stuff first, right?
Love.
Boring. Not sensational, not fabulous, not drawing the eye of everyone from all over the country. I want to make sure that our residents can drive on streets that are paved correctly, where there are no potholes, where we have lights that illuminate our streets, that illuminate our parks. I want us to go back to ourselves, internalize, and be a bit boring and fix the basics. What is, quality of life? That's what this is all about, quality of life issues. And so if we have dirty streets, if we have uninviting streets, if we have streets where our cars can't drive safely on, then you're doing a disservice to your residents.
1000%.
So I think getting back to the basics would be my first magic wand.
Love. I was just saying that, I think, to my mom the other day. I was like, I feel like Miami Beach politics, they focus so much on what's going to be a good photo op, and they forget about the boring things.
Of course.
So I love that.
I couldn't agree with you more on that.
If you could ban one thing from Miami Beach forever, what would it be?
Traffic. Okay, I would ban the traffic. No, I know that's impossible, but because obviously, you know, like, this isn't utopia. People gripe about the traffic, but nobody really wants to sell their car, including me. I mean, I have a car. I contribute to the traffic. Do I try to walk as much as possible? Absolutely. Do I try to bike as much as possible? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we all have to drive off the beach for something. You know, like, we all have to get to the airport. We all have to, you know, maybe go because we want to go to Sawgrass or Dolphin Mall, or, you know, like, we might have a doctor or dentist that's off the beach. So, you know, although I have to say my doctor and dentist are all on Miami Beach. Like,
Love
I try to, because I don't like driving off the beach. So, anyway.
And then if you could ban one thing from Miami Beach forever, what would it be?
Ban one thing from Miami Beach forever. Well, that's a really good question. I would say exorbitant parking fees.
Yes. Wait, I love that too.
Exorbitant parking fees. Because what are you doing? You're telling people, don't come here.
Yeah.
Don't come have dinner at Prima Pasta because there's no parking, and the valet is expensive and the parking garages are exorbitant. And I get it. You want to dissuade troublemakers from coming. But you have to have parking that is feasible for people to come from Kendall, from Wynwood, from Doral.
Yeah.
So, you know, that again is a very practical
Yeah. I also think
answer.
residents should have, like, either free parking or an annual parking pass that they can just pay $100 at the beginning of the year and get free parking for the rest of, I don't know, something. Because when people are shopping in our streets, then maybe they go for a lip liner, but then they stop at a coffee shop and buy a cafecito and then take themselves to lunch by accident because they're just, like, wandering around.
Of course. You know how many times I've gotten a ticket outside of G Beauty in Sunset Harbor? And every single time he pulls up, and you know, and it's just, there's nothing available. And you got to go park in the garage, and it's
Okay, we're getting into democracy and governance.
Okay.
Is our city well managed? Yes or no?
Overall, yes, but I do think we need to improve. There are definitely things we need to improve on, and a lot of those have been addressed, and I've heard about it, and I'm definitely going to fix it. At least try, you know, like, everybody knows that everything in government is slow.
Yeah.
But there are things that, yes, I do think we should manage better. And I think that we need to consolidate some and cross-train our employees so that way it might be a little bit more helpful for our residents and businesses.
Is our city well managed?
So as you know, our municipality is a city manager structure, and we have a board of directors, which is comprised of our commissioners. Do I think it's well managed? I think Mr. Carpenter is doing, he's doing a good job. I think it's more the question of, do we have, are our employees in our city being leveraged for their talents correctly? Are we making sure that they are being audited department by department to ensure that they are being effective in their roles? If they're not, then we need to have a more competitive process to bring talent to Miami Beach. Because I don't know why decisions are going to an arborist that have nothing to do with the actual practice of being an arborist. So we need our departments to make more sense. And him being at the top of this structure means he's the one that needs to ultimately be held accountable as well. But I think we need to look internally.
What's one thing about the way we operate that you would change immediately?
Our government is very responsive to resident needs. And I think that, I guess I would just say that, you know, I like that level of customer service and responsiveness. So if we can increase that at all, I would do that, you know.
So that more people feel heard faster.
Yeah.
What's the one thing about the way that we operate that you would change immediately?
Well, I think unfortunately, in the process of this campaign, I've come to learn, begrudgingly, that special interests and lobbyists rule the day in Miami Beach. And it's really unfortunate for residents because they're getting the short end of the stick. I think if we could do less politicking, less backroom deals, have a lot more accountability and transparency up on the dais in the decision-making process, then I think that our residents would benefit tremendously. But unfortunately, for all of the sunshine on our procurement process that they say that we have, I don't actually see that that's necessarily true.
I agree. Okay, fast forward 20 years into the future. What do you think the next generation of Miami Beach politics looks like?
Politics? Oh gosh, 20 years into the future? That's a good question. I mean, I think that we're moving towards a Miami Beach that's very like metropolitan and walkable, and young families are coming in and young professionals are coming in. And so in 20 years, perhaps we'll be, I think we're still gonna remain, I will fight to remain our charming, like low scale, like we're very like beachy too. And so I want to have a very nice combination of that like relaxed beachy vibe, but also like a professional vibe too, where we can all coexist naturally,
Yes, like a seamless blend.
Yeah,
A melting pot.
Yeah.
Fast forward 20 years into the future. What do you think the next generation of Miami Beach politics looks like?
I think it will continue to be more of the same unless there is, in a way, this backlash, this uprising against the status quo, because we see it all the time. I think civic engagement is depressed only because of apathy, because you feel as though you can't rise up against a system that's in place, that's established, that's built on, again, backroom deals and money. And it's so unfortunate because young people, they are the future. That's why I actually got into this race to begin with. That was the impetus for this, for me running. And if I can't help make Miami Beach a product in which my children want to raise their own families, then Miami Beach has no chance of survival.
I agree.
We have to retain our high net worth families, our middle class families, our working families. Those are the ones that are gonna patron Miami Beach. They're the ones that are gonna shop, that are going to go to our small businesses, that are going to be at our schools. We have to make it work for them. And politics, as usual, no longer works. Why do you think we saw what we saw in our national elections and what we've seen across the country? For good or for bad. People need to feel as though they're being heard. Otherwise...
Yeah. I mean, even in New York right now, they elected someone that was so controversial, and it's because so many young people felt like they weren't being heard, and they felt like that candidate hurt them.
Yep, and I think too, making sure that there's information that voters are knowledgeable as to who they're voting for. And the future will be this. So this will be the future. And we will have teletown halls, and candidates will be online, and they can plug in and have questions answered. But I also think with the advent of social media and certain vitriolic trolling online, I think you see candidates also suffering a disservice by certain media outlets because they're being misrepresented, and the voters don't know, because most of them are not sophisticated voters. And why is that? You know why? Because the majority of people are too busy working, putting food on the table, doing their 9-to-5 grind, that they're not really invested in who each candidate is. So they depend on those that are telling them and giving them advice and giving them, that's why I think it's so important to show some semblance of integrity.
I know. I would love to see a future where people are voting based off of who they actually resonate with rather than who someone tells them to vote for.
Exactly. And also be in a society in which everybody is allowed to opine on who they want to see in office without retribution from the online peanut gallery.
Yeah, because it's honestly scary. Like, you go because you want to make a positive change, and then you're faced with so much like almost hatred.
Oh, yeah.
And people are so mean to you. It's
Terrible.
like, babe, I'm literally here because I'm trying to make our
You're
city
like,
better.
I just want to work on your behalf.
I'm trying to be a public servant.
Yes. No, and it's the vitriol. And I think that that's why it's so important. One thing that I will say politics will never, ever change is we will never raise our hand in a public forum and say, all in favor for this candidate, say aye, right? That private vote, that vote going into that voting booth is something that is tantamount to us as citizens to be able to protect that right. Because if I feel as though I'm being attacked for who I'm voting for, I need to at least know that when I go into that voting booth, I can vote for whoever the hell I want.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Okay, so I've had an idea before to use blockchain to enable people to easily vote on local issues. How do you feel about resident participation when it comes to decision making?
Wow, I love resident participation. I mean, absolutely. You know, and for the most part, our residents do participate to a good level, which I'm very happy.
Like a vote, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they want to build a park, the residents vote on it.
That's actually a really good idea, Ava. Like, right? Like, just because we can do an internal vote, like,
Yeah. It
like
doesn't need to be like
send out
an
a
election
survey.
day.
Right,
vote.
exactly. I love that idea.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so I've had the idea in the past to use blockchain to enable people to easily vote on local issues. So like if they wanted to build a park in a certain neighborhood, then that neighborhood could vote on that issue, and then also the surrounding neighborhoods could vote on that issue. But maybe like that neighborhood that's immediately affected gets a higher weight on their vote. Something. How do you feel about resident participation in decision making?
Well, I think 100% you need to have resident input. I think that that's why there needs to be transparency as to where projects are progressing. I think notices are not enough.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why a commissioner should have, if I'm elected, when I'm elected, God willing, you know, you got to have the town halls. You got to have the hourly, you have to have the check-ins in your office. You need to get the resident input. Now, neighborhood associations, community advocacy groups are important, so long as they are not jeopardized, so long as they are not compromised. And that is what we're seeing. Because I'll tell you what, in the middle of this campaigning, I actually had neighborhood association presidents reach out to me with information, oppo research on other candidates. That to me is entirely corrupt.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That to me is entirely unexcusable. And so if somebody is compromised or sitting in a board that is supposed to be the mouthpiece for their neighborhood, that's a huge problem. That's why I think some of these boards and these figureheads and these groups are great in theory, but I don't actually think that they are speaking on behalf of all of their residents.
Yeah, it's like their immediate friend group.
So maybe, you know, maybe you have these online portals where residents can put their 2 cents in or leverage AI in a way that they all have ownership and input into their city and their municipality.
I think so too. Okay, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but running for commissioner is no small task. What inspired this?
Definitely inspired by the fact that I've always wanted to do this, and you know, this year was a good year for my family, and I wanted to set a good example for my kids. And honestly, I just want to make Miami Beach better. You know, like that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, running for commissioner is no small task. What inspired this?
My children, my past, my hope for their future. I am running because I have spent so much of my own time focused on ensuring people that need help have it. That's why I'm the president of the Women's Cancer Association at University of Miami. I've sat on the board of Nicholas for several years, raising money for the hospital. I sit on several boards at the Florida Bar, through my guardian ad litem work, through my family law practice. And for me, if we don't have people in a position to make decisions that can be accountable and transparent and be an advocate for those that have less than us, who are unable to voice their own desires and wants, then we don't stand a chance as a city. And so my inspiration was my little boy and my little girl, and I want to give them the best Miami Beach feasible, state-of-the-art facilities, schools that are safe, schools that are drug-free, or at least zero tolerance for drugs, places that for them will nurture and inspire them to want to invest in Miami Beach long term, so that they don't leave dying to leave their city. And so that was certainly the root love of why I'm doing this.
I love that. Obviously, you're not the only one in this race. What do you think gives you a leg up over your opponent?
Good question. I think that, I have a lot of experience in government. I have a bachelor's degree in public policy. I, worked for 3 years as a legislative aide, so I know, the behind the scenes. I know, how to propose a resolution, an ordinance, a referral to committee. I know how the budget process works. I've been involved in the budget process and the hearings. So really, it's my experience. I mean, I just have a lot of experience. And I will say, aside from the government experience, I have a lot of Miami Beach experience. When you've lived here for 16 years and your kids go through the school system and you have been on boards. I was on Miami Beach United. I was on the Commission for Women. I was on the Committee for Quality Education. I was on the board of the Miami Beach Community Development Corporation. You get to know your neighbors and you get to know the issues in a very robust way. So I have both the government experience, but the community experience. And I think that's what sets me apart.
What was your favorite thing that you've worked on in Miami Beach government?
Oh, that's hard. A lot of the things. I mean, I remember when I worked for Kristen, we planted trees in North Beach. There were a couple areas in North Beach where she was able to plant some trees because, it makes it more walkable, it makes it cooler, and she was very committed to doing that. I remember, working on, there's a lot of events. Commissioner Fernandez did a really nice a cancer event for survivors where we would give awards, and we had a panel discussion, and it was putting all those places and moving parts together. Street renamings. I did a street renaming for Mayor Bauer where I had to plan that too, and she's just such, great. I mean, she was, mayor of our community and really, made an impact.
The first female mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First and only.
So you're obviously not the only one in this race. What do you think gives you a leg up over your opponent?
I think my leg up is that I've had an incredible life up until this point, good and bad. I've had tremendous challenges, tremendous obstacles, and I've had no choice but to rise above them in the face of the greatest adversity. And having that life experience is, I think, so important because it gives you a different perspective. Not a perspective because I served as an aide to so-and-so or because I've served as chair of a board. I think being a community activist is very important, and I think that it shows that you've invested in your city. But just as important is being able to have professional experience, life experience. The proof is in the pudding. I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of pro bono work on behalf of constituents in Miami-Dade County, for kids, for families. That brings a certain perspective, where I like to call it that mama bear energy, where I know I can't be compromised. I know I can't be bought. I am not beholden to anyone in City Hall. I don't have past ties to anyone from City Hall. I am my own person, and I'm coming to advocate on behalf of the residents because my loyalty is the residents, not to anybody in City Hall.
I love that.
And that's a big, big difference, I think, between my opponent and I.
What's something people are surprised to learn about you in this race?
I don't know. I guess we would have to ask people. I don't know. What were you surprised to learn about me, Ava? Because we kind of knew each other. Like, we'd hung out like once or twice before.
Your political background. I didn't realize that you were so inspired to be in the political scene and that your college major was in politics. What was it again? It was
The actual degree is social relations and policy, so it's like political science.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
that's like I didn't know that. I thought that you were just like, oh, I don't know, like I don't know,
okay.
I don't know, I didn't know.
That's okay. That's okay.
But it
Yeah.
really comes across that you're very passionate about politics, which is amazing.
Thank you.
What's something that people are surprised to learn about you in this race?
So obviously the elephant in the room, I'll address it because I think it's important to address. When I came into this race, I was seen as this MAGA extremist mom who, she's going to destroy Miami Beach. She's going to bring all of these really hateful principles and ideas to the dais. And that is something that could not be more, it could be further from the truth. I don't have a hateful bone in my body. I did experience a trauma at a very young age. I lost my father when I was 4.5. He was arrested for murder and was incarcerated and spent the next close to 30 years on death row in Stark, Florida. And my father was, they keep coming back. There were these, the opposition has taken 2 posts that I've made in the past, years and years ago on Instagram, where I referred to my dad as my hero and my guiding light. And what the misrepresentation and the evil narrative, because I want to call it that, that they've twisted it and maligned my character to be, is that I am somehow in some way an anti-Semite or a Nazi sympathizer, just a hateful person. And the reality is my father was a Marine. He served in Vietnam. My father was a police officer. He was a very, very sick man, and he committed atrocities, which I have always denounced. But this has been public record. You can look up my name. It's there. I've never hid from it. But to weaponize my past in a way to make me be or seem something that is so ugly has been the most unfortunate part about this campaign, because my father was executed on death row in 2012. The statistic of a child having a parent incarcerated for so many years to even graduate from high school is less than 1%. So for me to sit here as an example to all of those children, because there are 370 some odd death row inmates, and the majority of them have families, and the majority of them have kids. And so for them to weaponize that painful trauma and use it to hurt me and to hurt my family, because they hurt my family. I had a watch order on my house because of death threats against my children. I had people sending me messages saying that my babies were Nazis.
That's crazy.
Because I want to serve my community. This is what the political opposition has weaponized to destroy my name and my character. With as hard as I've worked, I won't allow it. And so, regardless of what happens in this race, I know that I rose above their hateful commentary, their vitriol, their weaponization of a childhood tragedy to paint me into something that I'm not. And I will never bow to it. I will never resign myself to feel less than, because I protect my children, my husband, my mother, my family. And I know exactly who I am. The people of Miami Beach one day will know as well.
I love it. And also, not just an example for the 370 people on death row who have families, but also every single person who's incarcerated who has families, who their daughters want to rise above it. You're such a good example for that.
Well, so when I wasn't sure what I was going to do after that whole trauma situation happened to me, I actually started a foundation, and which is, in the process of starting. It's called Airborne Foundation, and it's for children who have parents who are incarcerated, and it's a way to inspire them to get college scholarships so that they can pursue a secondary education. And it's specifically for those children who have parents who are either in serving a term of life or on death row. Airborne Foundation, check it out.
I love it. If your opponent were in the room, what do you think they'd say as to why people shouldn't vote for you? And how would you respond?
I would just say that I'm qualified and I am, have knowledge and experience, and people trust me and they trust that I'll do the right thing for Miami Beach and its residents and for all of us.
If your opponent were in the room, what do you think they'd say as to why people shouldn't vote for you? And how would you respond?
I'm sure that the narrative is she's not qualified because she hasn't served as a legislative aide, or she hasn't worked at City Hall. And my response to that is, this isn't an appointment. City politics and municipal government deserves a board of directors that's comprised of individuals with experience, with life experience, with professional experience, who are not beholden to special interests. And I think that makes me the perfect choice for a seat on that dais, because I'm no one's proxy.
You're not.
I'm not beholden to any special interests, and no one's knocking on my door saying, well, I did this for you, so you need to do that for me. And so, not to say that she is, but I do think that tagline where most qualified, I don't know that resonates well with voters, because voters don't want more of the same. They're looking for a change.
What is the biggest problem affecting small businesses right now?
It's tough kind of navigating that red tape of, how do I open a business on Miami Beach? And I definitely have some plans to change that, and I have some ideas. And that's what I was actually speaking about earlier, about the cross-training of employees and departments. And then there's other small businesses that are struggling.
Wait, before you get into this, tell me the ideas that you have.
Well, so right now the way it works is, when you want to open a business, there's different departments that you have to go through to get your permits. You have to, there's the planning department where you submit your plans, and and then it goes to fire because they have to make sure you have enough sprinklers and the egresses and all of that, and then and then you might go to finance, and then you might go to I'm missing one, it's on the tip of my tongue, but so there's all these departments, and so there's got to be a way that we can streamline that. So either have people being cross-trained, so that way you get one person, and that one person handles all of your permit, every step of the way, or we get everybody in a room. But it depends on the feasibility of all this stuff. So I've got to, figure that out, and it will take a little bit of time to figure out what's the best way. But we definitely have to help the businesses that are trying to get open, get them open quicker, because unfortunately, now we have an environment where people don't want to open in Miami Beach because they're like, oh, it takes so long,
It takes so long.
Yeah. So we need to improve that process. And then there's small businesses who are open, and even medium-sized businesses, and they might be struggling due to lack of foot traffic. And I think the key there is to have some type of better marketing to highlight these businesses, and I don't know exactly what that is, but we really need to elevate what's happening in Miami Beach so we can keep people local and keep people supporting local.
I completely agree. During my campaign, I was promoting like a local spending incentive program. I think it would be amazing for full-time residents to have free parking.
Yeah.
That way they can just freely walk around and not have to stress and go peruse and stop into a coffee shop and buy a coffee. And there's a ton of different things that we can do. Yeah. What is the biggest problem affecting small businesses right now?
I think Miami Beach right now, unfortunately, has, so we have a marketing issue. We also have a affordability issue. And I think that landlords need to leverage the fact that the Florida state legislature, that Tallahassee has done away with small business tax. And so we have, there should be rent abatements now in place. That savings should now trickle down to their tenants. Now, whether they're going to do that or not, we need to incentivize them. We need to also activate our relationship with the bids. We have them for a reason. Our storefronts, they don't look inviting. They just sit there. They need to be cleaned. We need to more pop-ups, more incentives for local owners and residents to come and shop and play and eat and patron. Small businesses we want them to thrive. If they don't thrive here on Miami Beach, people are not going to want to live here.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to drive to Wynwood or Doral to have a nice meal, but it's also made it very difficult because rents are so high. And that's unfortunate. That's something that the city can directly control, because we can't tell a landlord what to charge in rents. But let's leverage what's coming down from Tallahassee. Streamline permitting. Fast track permitting. We have to incentivize and be creative.
Yes.
To get people open. It takes way too long to open a business here in Miami Beach.
And that's something that I've thought about a lot too, is that it's not just the rents that are high, it's that those businesses that are renting have to keep their doors shut for so long because of our lengthy permitting process.
Correct. I agree. And even a grease trap, things where you have to make it make sense. It shouldn't take months and months and months to have, code come in, or have Durham come in, or be able to get a permit to be able to operate a certain way. We have to streamline our process so that businesses want to spend the time, energy, and resources to build out a space in Miami Beach.
Housing affordability. This has been a major topic throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
And everywhere, honestly. Is it a buzzword or is it a real issue? And if it's a real issue, how do we fix it?
It is a real issue. It's absolutely a real issue. Fixing it is very complicated, which is why it's hard to fix. You know what I mean? Like it's like if there was a good, easy, smart answer, we would be on it. I feel like, you know, but a lot of it is, first of all, housing is a private market. You know what I mean? Like there's private landlords, there's private building developers, there's private owners. So the private housing market, we can't necessarily regulate.
Yeah, we're not
too
in
much.
the business of regulating private businesses.
Exactly. And landlords and owners and building owners and stuff like that. Government can play a role when it comes to affordable housing if they do public-private partnerships with nonprofit affordable housing developers, which is what happened in the Collins Park. There's an affordable housing building there. And
that's the Anamar, right?
Yeah. Yep. Now, that building is a workforce housing building.
But it's also kind of expensive.
It is expensive. It is expensive. And so the way it works is there's two different tiers of affordable housing. One is affordable, truly affordable, and that is based on area medium income, which is where they aggregate all the income of folks that live in Miami-Dade County. So when you do that, you're going to get high income levels and low income levels. And so it's a little bit skewed, but the area medium income is set by HUD, which is a federal program, the Housing Authority, or Housing and Urban Development, or something like that. Now, workforce housing is a grade above affordable in terms of the amounts. And so workforce housing is higher, it's higher, but it's still not market rate, which is the highest. So the difficulty is that when we do these projects, because the land is so expensive in Miami Beach, most of them land in the workforce housing area. Although we can do affordable housing, it's just a lot more complicated. And I've mentioned this before, but I was doing the Tuesday Morning Breakfast Club. The thing that people don't realize about affordable housing and market rate workforce housing is that when you have a building that's affordable, you have very low rents. And if, for example, let's say like the key code in the front door breaks, who pays for that? You know what I mean? And the people who are in affordable housing buildings, they don't pay HOA fees. Yeah. They don't pay, you know what I mean? So you have to figure out a way to offset that cost. Additionally, when you have the trash pickup, that trash contract with Waste Management, they don't give you a discount for being an affordable housing building.
That's kind of annoying.
They charge you market rate. It's awful. It's awful. That's why these buildings struggle.
And we can't negotiate with them?
Well, it's not, again, the Waste Management Company is a private entity. So they're going to be like, hey, it's great that you're doing affordable housing, but you got to pay us our rates.
And what if we're like, okay, fine, then we'll use another waste management company that wants to give us special rates for our affordable housing?
Unfortunately, none of them really want to give it because they have their bottom line and they're a market rate entity, you know.
Wow.
And so it's a very complicated, vast, you know, which we could happy to talk about this.
We could have a whole podcast on this.
We could.
Okay. So
wait, can I just give one more shout out?
Yes.
And actually, you should do this program. So there's a program with the University of Miami called the Community Scholars in Affordable Housing.
Okay.
And it's a free class, and it's like a very prestigious class, and you join it. It's for people who want to learn about affordable housing and how to fix the problem.
That's amazing.
I'm going to send you the information.
Yeah.
It's an annual, I think it's like 12 weeks or something. And I took that class and it was eye-opening. Like, you learned so much.
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
love
send
that
you
you
the
took
info.
it. So
Yeah,
you're
it's a
just
great
dedicated
class.
to learning. We love that. Housing affordability. Buzzword or real issue?
Misnomer.
Why?
I think that, you know very well, and I think maybe short-term rentals is a product of this supply and demand. Miami Beach is not affordable. It's not affordable. And the units that they are touting as being affordable, I lived in Manhattan. I get it. It's astronomical. You've got 500, 600 square feet. And they're charging what, $2,800 for a micro unit. That's not for a 4-person family.
No.
A 4-person family can't afford to. That doesn't work for them. And so affordability has become a tremendous issue. And so that is. And I get it. That's why they want to try to leverage live local, and so we can build more affordable housing. But do we need more workforce housing, or is it really affordable housing? So I think that we have to make sure we know what type of housing we're looking to target to maybe create these mixed use zones. And maybe it is on Washington, and maybe it is above Lincoln. We have to leverage the spaces that we do have. We don't necessarily have to go vertical, right? And we don't have to increase far and have these these developments come left and right. Like that, we're not trying to onboard development, but we do need to address the spaces that we presently have.
Yes.
And maybe make them more adaptive.
Yes, converting some of the offices into potentially residences.
And that's why I think a master plan with regards to zoning, where we're doing less ad hoc decisions or spot zoning, like we need to have actual ordinances
like a
in place.
cohesive plan.
Yes, versus variances that are constantly being given as.
Public transportation, actionable steps to make it better.
So public transportation, there's a couple different things that I want to explore. One of them is our trolleys. I've said, that I think we need more trolleys in the fleet. I know that we already have, thank you. I know we have and I think you've actually mentioned that too, I feel like. I know that we've got a contract going out right now, and I'm not sure at what stage that contract is. I think the city might still be negotiating that with the trolley service provider. And let's see, I don't know what the budgetary impacts are of putting more trolleys in the fleet, so we're gonna have to look at that, and then how we can offset that cost. And I'm hoping that it can be advertising dollars as, for example, I'll use this example, when Art Basel comes into town, let's say, hey, Art Basel, why don't you wrap the trolleys with your advertising and
1,000%.
pay X amount, or when Food and Wine comes to town, the Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have the budget to pay for it, and that'll help offset our
Transportation
income,
costs, right.
our revenue.
Right.
So then we don't need to rely so heavily on taxes if we found smarter streams of income.
Solutions, right. And these big events are what contribute to our traffic. So they really should be giving us something.
Yeah,
to
and
help.
like increasing the fleet and maybe paying for additional drivers. That way there's like constant flow of public transport during those big weekends. Public transportation. What are some actionable steps to make it better?
A lot of that is dependent on FDOT and our relationship with the county. I think if we leverage the county in a better way, then I think we could get alternative transportation. You're never going to make everybody happy. So you've got people that are opposed to the Bay Link, and then you've got others that say, well, let's leverage water taxis. Let's figure out a way to get. I think we have to encourage business owners we have to incentivize business owners, I think, that have hospitality workers, for example, have them park downtown off the island somewhere, right? And provide them with bus tickets, or provide them with passes, or provide them with some sort of permit that allows them to travel by way of bus, or travel some sort of public transportation system. You also have to modernize our trolleys. I know that we have a process, a procurement process in place right now to modernize and upgrade, but right now they're terrible. I mean, you've seen them. You've got vagrants and homelessness, and they smell, and
they're not on time.
So, charge $5, charge $3, charge $1, whatever it is. Like, free public transportation is wonderful in theory, but you also have to maintain it.
Yeah.
And they need to be ADA specific. So I think public transportation is excellent. I would love to see Miami Beach have public transportation similar to how LA has it and Manhattan has it, even Dallas. I lived in Dallas temporarily as well. We got to get out of our own way. We just have to get out of our own way. I don't know if that's maybe putting a toll on Arthur Godfrey, or if that's, busing people in or building the Bay Lake. But we have to leverage our relationship with the county, leverage county dollars, and work in tandem, and also leverage Tallahassee.
So when I was in Portugal earlier this summer, every park that I went to had a little kiosk inside that had like 2 workers there, and one was in the kiosk, and then the other was going to the tables, kind of like serving, because there were tables around there too, and they were serving little coffees, sangrias, light bites. And I have the question, concessions in parks, what's your opinion?
I know that that's been discussed recently at commission, and I don't remember where they landed, but I'd be interested in being a part of that discussion. I think it's a good idea if it's done well. I think we do have a concession inside the South Point Park. There's a little area there that sells like ice cream and drinks and stuff. Yeah. And I think in Flamingo Park, I think the plan was to bring concessions there too. I think that still might be the plan, because there's this little historic house inside of Flamingo Park.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, and they're renovating that right now.
That would be so cute.
Yeah, so I think it's feasible. I would just, like to look at whatever plan they've got and make sure it's done like right. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
seems
I
like
would love to see it, because especially in the more, like Miami Beach is so special because it's such a small island. And if you're in the more populated areas, it's so nice because you can walk outside of your door and just go to a restaurant or a cafe, whatever. But if you live in the more residential areas, there's really no retail anywhere.
Yeah.
But there are little parks. So
yeah.
it would be nice for those community members to be able to walk to a park and get a little tea or a snack or a coffee.
That gives me an idea. Well, I mean, this idea, but just building on it is like, maybe we could get like coffee carts or something that are there from like 9 to 11.
Yeah,
you know what
nothing
I mean? Like,
crazy. Like it doesn't need to be a whole build out,
Right.
but just a little something. That way not all residents need to drive if they want to go buy a coffee, because I think that would help with traffic too.
Yeah, that'd be cute.
Concessions in parks. So imagine if you live in a residential neighborhood. Imagine if you were able, can you walk to 41st Street?
I live right off of 41st Street.
Okay. Well, think about maybe people like a little bit more north of you in those houses where they don't really have a place to walk to. Imagine if there was a concession in the park where they could all gather as the community and like have a little tea or a coffee and a sandwich and just community in the park. How do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that would be incredible. That'd be wonderful. We did just get a Pura Vida is coming online on 41st.
Really?
Across the street from North Beach.
Oh, amazing.
So congratulations to the Pura Vida family.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But we don't have an ice cream shop
There's
on
nothing.
41st. We don't have an ice cream shop on 41st. But we have every bank under the sun, which is wonderful and great. And look, my law practice is on 41st. But we have to activate, I think we need to figure out a way to maybe activate these blighted corridors that are a bit depressing.
Yeah, and then there's the one on 47th Street. That one's super depressing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That building near Pine Tree?
Yes.
That's such a good retail place for all of the residents nearby, and it's just decrepit.
I know. And well, there's I think a laundry and a convenience mart, but we can absolutely
have cute cafes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, I think we have beautiful green space now, whether you're bringing concessions in, but look, Central Park has concessions.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be crazy, just like a little kiosk with some tables.
I bring in a Shake Shack. It's, people love it. Bring in
I would love a Shake Shack.
a little coffee, a little coffee shop, a little coffee.
Anything.
I agree with you. I agree.
Our police is fully staffed for the first time in a long time. What does an ideal police presence look like to you in our city?
That's a good question. So first of all, love the police. And love. They do such a great job. Like, the fact that people don't realize that every single day when an officer gets on shift, he is putting his life on the line. Like, you never know what's going to happen. You're dealing with an element that is very, volatile, and you don't know what's going to happen. And that's, mind-boggling to me. So thank you to all law enforcement officers and first responders as well for your sacrifice, your service, and for doing what you do. I really can't emphasize that enough. Ideal police presence in our city. I think we've got great police presence. I know people want, I remember, the former police chief, Chief Clemens, he was talking to me about how at one point in spring break a few years ago where people wanted 2 officers on every single block. And Officer Clemens was like, listen, my police officers aren't wind-up dolls. Like, you can't just and then go. They need to rest. They need to sleep. They need to eat. So I know that we want a lot of police, and I get that. And we have fully staffed police now, finally. But if we want more police, we're going to have to hire more, and it's going to, there's an impact there. So I would have to, reach out to the chief and the union and say, hey, what's feasible? What can we do here? That's not taxing our police even more than they've already been tasked. And I've mentioned this before too, that because we weren't fully staffed, it was very exhausting because the police were working overtime, and they were Alpha Bravo scheduled during the month of March, and so it's a lot. Our town, it's a lot, and people don't realize that even though we only have 80,000 residents, and some of them are snowbirds, and they're but at any one time during an event that's happening, and even in Miami, anywhere in the Miami-Dade County in South Florida, our numbers swell. And so we might not even know it, but there's an event, in Miami, but our hotels fill up, and now we've got an additional 200,000 people on Miami Beach that are tourists. So it's a lot. It's a lot for our police, and they do a fantastic job.
They do.
And I'm happy to support them.
Okay.
In anything they need.
Our police is fully staffed for the first time in a long time. What does an ideal police presence look like to you in our city?
Out of their vehicles, off of their phones.
Yep. Okay.
Love them. I love them. And I love them, and I support them, and I back the blue 110%. But I want to see you. I want to see you walking. I want to see you on your bikes. I want to see you on your horses, whatever it is. Let's leverage it, because that is a deterrent in and of itself.
I completely agree. Proactive versus reactive.
Yes.
We spend nearly $1 billion a year. Do you think residents are getting their money's worth?
I do. I think that we offer a lot of services. We've got Scott Rakow, which is free, and we've got ice skating, and we've got, the police services and fire. I mean, the police have the shortest response times, I think, in the country. I mean, we've got very short response times for the police and our first responders, fire, paramedics. That's amazing. Ocean rescue. So we offer a lot of services, and we've got summer camp for kids, and we've got sports programs for both kids and adults. We've got our swimming pools. We've got lifeguards there who do a great job, as well as, ocean rescue. And so we offer a lot of services. I think people are frustrated in government because there's other things that people are unhappy with, like the big capital improvement projects like West Avenue, the infrastructure problems that we're having, with pipes burst, and the water quality issues in North Beach. And those are all valid and legitimate concerns. We have to figure out how we can do better as a city within the framework of what really works in government. And again, I'm committed to helping solve that problem. I'm committed.
What's your philosophy for managing our budget going forward when it comes to cutting costs, increasing revenue, auditing different divisions, stuff like that?
I'd be interested in looking through our budget with a fine-tooth comb, no matter how long it takes. I will say that I'm very proud of myself that throughout this campaign, I was very frugal with how I spent. I didn't buy a lot of swag. I didn't buy hats and bags and,
No wasteful spending.
Yeah, which is totally fine. I just feel that people have a different philosophy on, you know, spending, and I happen to be very frugal.
Yeah.
And so I think that our city should be very frugal as well. Now, granted, the one thing about city government is that we're not here trying to make a profit. We're a nonprofit. We have to balance our budget. And I think that's good, but that doesn't mean we get to spend. So I think we need to be careful about that to make sure we're not going
We
crazy.
definitely spend a lot.
Yeah.
We spend nearly $1 billion a year. Do you think residents are getting their money's worth?
No, of course not.
What's your philosophy for managing our budget going forward regarding cutting costs, increasing revenue, audits, or something else?
Audit.
Everything.
Doge every department. I hate to use that word, but somebody said it to me the other day. But we need to be fiscally responsible, and we need to be. We also have to start holding ourselves accountable, department by department.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure that every person that's employed in our city is following metrics that are being given to them. And if they are not meeting those metrics, then there will be somebody else that can do their job.
Yeah.
Also, we need to leverage AI.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not trying. I want people to be employed, and I want people to work so they can provide food to their families. But we also can't have people working remotely. We can't have people doing a half-assed job. If you're going to be working for the city of Miami Beach and getting paid a hefty, beautiful salary,
Beautiful
then
salary.
I want to see you working your tail off for me.
How would you feel if someone nice got fired because of efficiency improvements?
I would love to start with efficiency improvements first, and maybe being on like a performance improvement plan first. But again, my role as commissioner is not to fire people or hire people. That's all up to the city manager. And I'm definitely gonna, you know, God willing I win, I'd like to sit down with our city manager and just say like, hey, where can we improve here? And I have some ideas.
How would you feel if someone nice got fired because of efficiency improvements?
Were they doing their job?
That's a good
I mean, I
question.
don't think that niceness has anything, unfortunately, to do with running a $1 billion budget in a municipal government. I think we have a lot of nice, wonderful, compassionate people working in our city. Now, but we also have sanitation workers that are using a porta potty because the city won't build them a bathroom.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. So those people are nice, and they're doing their job, and they're still going to the bathroom in a porta potty.
Yep.
So who's not really nice in that scenario? Is it our city?
I agree. Some of our rules seem anti-resident in my eyes. Residents report being threatened arrest if they're at the beach past sunset, and some report being ticketed for having their dogs in public parks. Meanwhile, there are actual threats in our city, like debris in the middle of the road, potholes that cause danger while driving, and residents that feel unsafe in their own neighborhoods. Why is this?
You know, the law applies to everybody. So if the law is that the parks close at sundown, then the parks close at sundown.
I know, but why is that a law?
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know when that law was created. Was it created in 2009? Was it created in, 1999? Like, I don't know that.
Well, I think parks are supposed to be open until midnight in Miami Beach, like the beach.
Really?
Yeah, and I think the sunset thing, 8 p.m., was a recent
Oh, okay. Happy to look into
addition.
that. Happy to look into that. So now, and again, like, and so just going back to that law issue, like, I just want to be clear that, like, we can't say that, like, oh, the law applies to homeless, but not like the nice person walking their dog on the beach, which would be me. I walk my dog on the beach, not after sundown, but, so we have to be fair and just with the law, and it applies to everyone. Same with code, and any type of regulatory agency. But I think that it's a fair point because people do feel like sometimes our laws aren't resident friendly. So, maybe it's time to look at some of these policies. Government, the thing is that people say, well, we need less government regulation. And then there's people that say we need more government regulation.
Where do you fall?
And so, that's a good question. Where do I fall? I think we have enough government regulation. I mean, I'm not like, oh, more laws. Let's look at what we have and make sure it works, and then revisit if we need to. And then if we need a new law, perhaps, because, you know, everybody wants, it's funny because, you know, a lot of people, we're a very diverse community, and so people want different things. And so some people want, you know, oh, we need, you know, more laws, and some people we want less. And so it's a delicate balance to our city.
Some of our rules seem anti-resident in my eyes. Residents report being threatened arrest if they're at the beach past sunset, and some report being ticketed for having their dogs in public parks. Meanwhile, I've noticed actual threats in our city, like debris in the middle of Alton Road. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a car bumper in the middle of Alton Road for 3 days. 3 days. Potholes, like you mentioned, that cause danger while driving, and residents that feel unsafe in their own neighborhoods. Why do you think that we are focusing on, why is this? Just why is this?
Why? So I think, again, we want to be vigilant, and we know that our police are doing a really great job under Mayor Minor in dealing with vagrancy and homelessness and criminals and car thefts and property thefts. We need to make sure our police have ownership to make decisions and ticket accordingly. But I also think we over-ordinance ourselves, where we legislate everything to death. And so now we've got people that are being micromanaged on the beach. I mean, you've even seen it. We have signs on our beach that say, you know, no dogs allowed. But then right under it, you've got a sign that says, keep your dog on a leash.
Yeah.
You got to make it make sense. And so these are agenda items that can be brought to the attention of a commissioner. And look, this, I think, is the one leg up that I do also have against my opponent, is that I've actually passed legislation in Tallahassee. I've helped write legislation. I've gone to Tallahassee and advocated on that legislation's behalf. So people, you know, residents can come to my office and say, look, you got this ordinance doesn't make sense, and this is why. Is it content neutral? Is it, you know, is it being overly restricted unnecessarily? And those are things that we can target and work on together, because we need to focus our energies on the big issues, like the bumper in the middle of Alton, not the guy that's, you know, left some poop on the ground on the beach.
Schools, what needs improvement ASAP?
I mean, I'm a big fan of our public school system. Again, you know, my kids went to South Point Elementary and then Nautilus Middle School and Beach High. And I think there's a lot of negative connotation about public schools for some people. Other people love our public schools. I mean, my kids have had a great experience in each of the schools that they've attended. Great administration, very hands-on, very open to parental involvement, which is why the PTAs are so successful in our schools. I have nothing against charter schools, magnet schools, or religious schools. I think they're also fantastic. So I guess ASAP, maybe just better communication between all schools in Miami Beach and our city government, so that way, if, you know, but again, we have good communication. There's a committee for quality education where every single school in Miami Beach has a representative on that board and committee, and they pass resolutions, they send it to commission, and we help them. So, you know, I guess I would need to ask parents and administrators of schools that their answer to that question.
Yeah, and then decide.
Yeah, I'd have to research that.
Schools, what needs improvement ASAP?
We need to hold our school board and our county accountable, in the sense that if something's not working in one of our schools, you know that we don't obviously have much in the way of jurisdiction over our public school systems. However, when there are 863 students in our middle school with only one guidance counselor tending to those 863 students, that to me doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so are we leveraging mental health resources? Do they have access to everything that they need? We have incredible public schools in for elementary, because they have incredible gifted tracks, and our high school's great because it's got an IB program. But a lot of these students are leaving the beach once it's time to go to middle school. And we lose them to Belen, we lose them to Ransom, we lose them to Gulliver. What about the parents that can afford to send them to those schools? What's the alternative? So, you know very well, I got the Teach Florida endorsement. 2 of their tenants is school choice, parental rights, and making sure that families have the option to send their kids to where they want them to be sent to, because they know that the value systems in those places, in those schools, are going to be aligned with what they want. And so grants, after school programming, state-of-the-art facilities. These are things that Miami Beach can do at a minimum to supplement what the school board is doing. But we need to hold our school board accountable, and we need to get as many dollars out of them as we can.
Yeah.
Because we cannot have mold, we cannot have infrastructural ruins in our schools. That does not make it okay for our students. That's not a learning environment that our kids should be exposed to. And so put their feet to the fire, get every last dollar that we can get, go to Tallahassee, advocate for our schools, and in the meantime, leverage the resources that we have that can go to those programs to help our children get a foot forward.
Flooding is obviously a major problem. Miami Beach has the opportunity to explore sponge city strategies. Have you ever heard that term?
I think I have. Is that like the special cement that absorbs?
Well, it's that, but it's also planting more trees that absorb. It's like
bioswales.
basically natural solutions that absorb and filter and process water. That way we don't have to rely on constant pumping and then dumping. So how do you feel about embracing these more modern natural infrastructure solutions, and would you be open to communicating with our public works team to help kind of push for these more natural, less energy consuming techniques?
Absolutely. Technology moves so fast, and I feel like we have all of these solutions that are either, just being developed and modernized, and we need to explore them. Definitely the bioswales that, they just hit the scene, I think maybe 10 years ago. I met with a woman who does seawalls, and she does these like really cool 3D printed seawalls.
Yes, I saw her.
Yes, she's so cool.
Yeah,
She's
really
so smart,
cool.
and she's a beach resident.
Yeah.
Like, she lives on Miami Beach, and she has like all of this great stuff going. I think she has a contract with Miami-Dade County, and we need innovation in terms of environmental issues, and also actually, frankly, traffic. I mean,
maybe that could be one of you were talking about bringing a lot of conferences and like different events to Miami Beach. Maybe natural like flooding mitigation could be one of the conferences.
Absolutely. Would love to do that and spearhead that, yeah.
Flooding is obviously a major problem. Miami Beach has the opportunity to explore sponge city strategies. Have you heard of sponge city?
Is that the porous?
It's porous concrete, but it's also like trees that have high absorption rates. So like trees that drink hundreds of gallons of water per day, stuff like that, along the sides of the roads where it typically floods.
Yep.
How do you feel about this more modern natural infrastructure solution approach? And then would you be willing to communicate this with our public works director?
Oh, absolutely. I think anything that we can modernize and leverage to better make our city run efficiently, but also be more environmental friendly, and also kind of bring us into the next realm of what this world is going to look like, then we absolutely need to do. But again, we have permitting issues. We have an arborist that we need to run everything through. We have laws on our books that state certain trees can't be planted, or you need to have a mitigation plan when you pull out certain trees. And so I think in theory, it's wonderful, and I would love to see something like that take place. Is there a timeline in place? How long would it take for something like this to be implemented? Who would be paying for it? And how much red tape will we face in that process? Because we're faced by red tape every day.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. If we can have anything that facilitates less flooding, that's our number one, number two, congestion and flooding. Those are our quality of life issues that residents are concerned about.
I mean, I think about trees sometimes, and I'm like, if Elon Musk came up with a solution that drank water, filtered it, ate carbon dioxide, released oxygen, looked nice, didn't make a sound, and provided shade, people would be all over it.
Except you couldn't say it came from Elon Musk, because then you've got so many people in our city that would want to vote against it because of that. Better, I think so.
I feel like everyone likes him.
Yes, he's neutral. He's not polarizing.
He's not polarizing. Some people want to put a casino in Miami Beach. How do you feel about this?
No to casinos.
Okay, great.
Done.
Stunning.
No.
Some people want to put a casino in Miami Beach. How do you feel about that?
Oh, no, I love the Hard Rock. We don't need a casino in Miami Beach. Just give me, I have my date night with my husband. We can go to the Hard Rock.
You can go to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Delivery robots, cute or creepy?
A little bit of both, honestly. Like, mostly, gosh, the way they litter our streets. Okay, listen, the robot itself, yes, it's cute, but the way they litter our streets, park on the swales. I had one that like died on the swale in front of my apartment, and it was there for like 2 days, like just sitting there in the grass.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
like,
awful.
Pick this guy up. So, and there's a lot of issues that people have brought up about these robots. They block sidewalks.
They block sidewalks.
There's nowhere to like park them. Like someone.
If you're in a wheelchair, like you'd be
you're
toast.
Yep. Also, like the other impact that someone mentioned to me was that, every robot you see is replacing an actual human that would deliver food. And so now we're like kind of cutting into like our working class citizens, when it comes to like, delivery drivers and stuff. And so that's another concern. It's really impacting our working class community too in that way. So yeah.
Okay, delivery robots, cute or creepy?
I met one yesterday. Her name was Jenna, and who's also my paralegal's name and my campaign manager. Shout out to Jenna, she's amazing. And my son was just like, "Mommy, what is this?" And she had no idea what she was doing. She was just going. I don't know if she was malfunctioning. I don't know if she was short circuiting. I think she was cute, but I mean, she's a clear hazard. I don't know who's actually behind this project.
It's very bizarre. No one knows. And it's weird that like some people have to wait 8 months to get a little bathroom renovation permit, but then we have these robots roaming around that nobody knows.
No, and Shanna just kept bocking her head against one of the pavements. It was crazy. And I saw it and I said, I'm not understanding this at all. Because you've got individuals that want to work for Uber Eats. Let them deliver the food. Why do we need Jenna?
Yeah, it's very bizarre because I feel like most of the city has the same sentiment of like, what are these robots doing here?
And then also think about the liability. And this is just my lawyer brain, wearing my lawyer cap. They have so much potential for liability because you've got people that are in walkers and people that are in wheelchairs and people that are elderly. And then you've got Jenna rolling up on the city sidewalk, knocking them over. That, I don't know. For me, that doesn't make much sense.
I completely agree. Traffic, what's something easy we can do to relieve stress?
I don't really know if there's anything easy, you know what I mean? Like other than the trolley issue, which I spoke about, but I don't really know if that's it. I would like to explore a park and ride in Miami where employees that, the Fontainebleau, Eden Rock, the Mount Sinai, and the Lowe's Hotel are huge employers. And so what if we have a park and ride in Miami and we bus them over? We get like a nice sleek van, like one of those
I think
big...
they're exploring that.
Yeah.
I heard something about that.
Yeah, and I would support that.
I think it would be amazing to do like an AI solution to our traffic lights and just get it going.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. And just get it like...
Yes.
I feel like more synchronized because I feel like right now part of the holdup is maybe like traffic light not synchronization, unsynchronization.
Yes. So the traffic lights are all controlled by the county.
Yeah, we need. So I guess the first thing would be to get it back to the city.
Well, I don't know if we can do that because whatever. But it's a deep thing, because some of the streets are owned by the county, some are owned by the state, and they have like FDOT, and they have this big, huge place in Doral. But we'll try.
Traffic. What's something easy that we can do to relieve stress?
Well, we need to leverage our county and FDOT to synchronize our lights. And I mean, I know that we have control over some of them. And I know that we've done some work, particularly in the more Orthodox communities where some of the signals last longer so that they're able to cross more efficiently on the Sabbath. But I think that we need to have more uniformity and synchronization across the entire across the entire municipality, excuse me.
Yeah, like cohesion.
Start there.
Yeah.
And that's something that we just need to take out of control from the county.
A little AI model and zip it through.
Of course, and we can leverage that. We should be leveraging that.
Okay, do you think Miami Beach residents should get priority for Miami Beach jobs?
I don't think it's legal to give people priority.
Really?
Yeah. But I do remember when I worked for Alex, he did legislation where if you are a Miami Beach resident and you apply for a job, and provided you meet the qualifications, right? Like if it's like firefighter or whatever and you're not a firefighter, then it doesn't work. But if you're qualified for that job, you are guaranteed an interview. You will get an interview.
Does that count even for jobs that are already taken? Like if you apply for a job that's already taken and you are a Miami Beach resident and you qualify, are you guaranteed an interview?
Well, you wouldn't be able to apply for a job that's taken because it wouldn't be on the website. Like it wouldn't be an open position. But if there's an open position on the website and you're a resident and you apply, and there's actually even, I think, a question that says, or no, maybe it's just based on, I don't know, and you will get an interview.
Do you think Miami Beach residents should get priority for Miami Beach jobs? Why or why not?
So I am all about a meritocracy. Just like I'm not crazy about certain leg ups given based on certain parameters, right? It's sort of college applications. You see 90,000 students applying and you get an extra number of points on your check sheet if you are a legacy. Whether that's good or bad, I won't opine on that. I do think that if somebody has the same skill set and is qualified and happens to live here in Miami Beach, should they maybe receive some sort of incentive for applying for that position? Arguably. I think I'd be hard pressed to say just because you live in Miami Beach, therefore you should get an expedited pass to the front of HR and that nominating committee, because I do believe meritocracy is in my opinion, the best way to move a city forward.
I think that's a great answer. As a city built on art and culture, we currently ban live music on Lincoln Road and other major streets in our city. Not even a DJ or someone playing a flute, but they are allowed to play music from a playlist, so they're allowed to blast music, it's just not allowed to be live music. This severely limits opportunities for local artists to earn income. How do you feel about this, and should these rules change?
So, should the rules change? Listen, I am very committed to listening to the residents, and there's some residents that don't want them to change, and then there are some that do want them to change. So there's got to be a compromise, and I'm willing to work towards a compromise, provided that the residents are informed about this, they have a seat at the table, they're heard, and then we'll see where we can go with that.
As a city built on art and culture, we currently ban live music on Lincoln Road and other major pedestrian destinations in our city. So they can play live music, or they can play music loudly, but it just can't be live music. So it can't be a DJ or someone playing a jazz band. This severely limits opportunities for local artists. How do you feel about this, and should these rules change?
So twofold. Again, it goes back to making it make sense. I've had dinner on Lincoln Road at Spree and Havana Harry's, and you've got music blasting because Emerson dances in front of these loudspeakers. If you can have a live band or a three-piece trio sitting out there playing some music, or a guy on his guitar, why wouldn't you have that?
Yeah.
I think if you can have certain, and of course this has to do a lot with zoning and making sure residents in certain areas are not affected, because I think that quality of, quiet enjoyment is what you call it. Quiet enjoyment of one's residence is also very important.
100%.
But if they're not being affected by it, and the noise ordinances in place make sense for the neighbors living around the circumference of the area that you're talking about, I think certain districts should have certain zonings that allow for this type of activity. Why wouldn't you? It's only going to bolster the area.
It makes no sense. Like, to have loud music anyway, why not have it be a jazz band or
I would love to
something?
sit outside with my husband, have a glass of wine, and listen to some music.
Yeah.
Now, does it need to be till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
No.
I agree with that. But I think reasonable implementations, I think, are absolutely appropriate.
on city logistics, construction always seems to start at the worst time possible. Just yesterday, I was driving on Collins and I saw that they were like tearing up the road. I was thinking, why are you doing it right now? It's about to be busy
Art Basel,
season.
I know.
Why not do this in the summer? Would you support creating guidelines or legislation requiring major projects to happen during summer and at the end of season rather than at the start of
Yes.
season?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Because that, I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
On city logistics, construction always seems to start at the worst possible time. I just noticed the other day there was road repairs starting on Collins, and I was like, why now?
It's school drop off.
I know. Would you support guidelines requiring major projects to begin during maybe the end of season or summer months rather than at the start of peak season?
I think it's important at a minimum to have these projects work during, hours of operation that do not inconvenience residents who are trying to get to and from work. That's where I would absolutely start. So middle of the night, graveyard shift, get extra time for work, through the middle of the night, and then incentivize the workers to want to do that type of work. I think that's a question for the unions. And I think that that's why relationship building with unions is also very important.
I think that's a great solution.
But I think we need to at least start there. But again, people don't want workers working so close while they're in the middle of the night. So, you got to weigh it.
Residents constantly say that they don't know what's going on, even though we spend millions on communication. Where are we failing, and how would you reinvent how Miami Beach communicates?
That's a good question. And I agree. I've heard those concerns. And I think we do need to, I think that social media is a great tool that we need to do better at. And, I know we talked about this a little bit about, Instagram and, so I definitely think that we need to focus on our social media a little bit more because that's where people get their news nowadays. So, we need to improve on that. Yep.
Residents constantly say that they don't know what's going on, even though we spend millions on communication. Where are we failing, and how would you reinvent how Miami Beach communicates?
With AI, and now I know that we are starting to receive certain text alerts with regards to certain notifications. Like I get all of the traffic alerts, which is great.
I've never gotten those.
You just have to sign up for it.
Oh.
So I think if we have a more modernized MB resident portal that is an app, obviously,
Yes.
where we can say, okay, sign me up for XYZ alert. I want to know about our water pollution. I want to know about construction that's happening in North Beach. I want to know what's happening in South Beach. And, we've got events coming up and it's Basel. What roads can I take? The emails, we're inundated. Have you noticed how many emails Miami Beach sends out?
I barely even check my emails because everyone sends out so many emails.
There's so many emails and they're so verbose.
Yeah.
They're so verbose. Nobody, what is the attention span? 8 seconds?
Yeah, 6 or something.
It's less than 10 seconds. Nobody is reading those emails.
Nobody.
So you've got contaminated water, you've got polluted waters up in North Beach. Okay, make it short, bolded sentences. Make sure we get alerts on our phones, just the same way we do Amber Alerts. Make it where people, these seniors that live in condos are not necessarily receiving newsletters from Miami Beach. I'm sorry, they're not. Paper ordinances, I think, are important. Those notices should still go out. I know it's, not environmentally friendly, but we do have seniors that aren't on smartphones.
Yeah.
Or that have access to computers. But I think they need to be communicated on a more real-time basis.
You mentioned something about the app and getting notices for the different alerts. I think it would be really amazing also for Miami Beach residents to get alerted as to when there's an RFP so that they can also be aware of it and potentially submit it, or maybe they have a friend that can submit a proposal for a certain whatever is going on that the city needs. That way we can just have more of a competitive process when it comes to who we're doing business with.
Absolutely. Sunshine on procurement.
Yeah. I want to talk about voter turnout
Yeah.
because civic participation is very important. So turnout was 35% this year. How do you feel about this number?
Actually, it was higher than it's ever been. It used to be like 8,000 people would vote, 6,000 people would vote in the runoff, and then it's just every year it creeps up and creeps up and creeps up, which is great. More people are voting. I know that there's been discussion with changing the elections to be when a presidential year, because that would get more voter turnout, because most people, they're like, I only want to vote for president. I don't care about the local stuff, which is unfortunate.
But then maybe during the presidential ones, they're just bubbling whoever's name they like and not actually taking care into who they're voting for.
Yeah. So, it's tough, but I will say I'm proud of Miami Beach because we did have very high numbers this year. So highest we've ever had, yeah.
Voter turnout. Turnout was 35% this year. What do you think of this number?
For it being an off-cycle year where it's not in line with a national election, I actually don't think it was a terrible compared to historical numbers. But I still think voter apathy is a real thing. I think because it's nonpartisan, was the turnout good? No, I think, these are real quality of life issues that we're dealing with. So when you've got 80,000 residents, only 35% of them go to vote, I think that's really sad. I think that's really, really sad. And, the runoff is going to be far less number of voters turning out. And that's why every vote counts.
Yes.
Every vote counts.
Can they still order an absentee ballot?
Yes. Absentee ballots are still available. You can order them up to 10 days prior to the voting day. So go on Supervisor of Elections, votemiamibeach.org, I believe. Don't hold me to that. You might want to put it up there. But Supervisor of Elections, Alina Garcia, has it. You can still order them. It's so important for people.
It's so important because these are really the things that move the needle. Like who we elect on our commission, they're the ones that are going to be representing our city. And you want someone who's bold and creative and who cannot be swayed. And you don't want someone that kind of just goes with the flow, because if we go with the flow, then we don't change.
Well, it's 4 more years of the same.
Yeah.
And though it's one vote, that one vote could be tantamount to a decision.
It really makes a difference.
That does not benefit the residents.
Go vote. Go vote. Do you have any ideas on getting more people registered and voting in future years?
Well, I would love to do that. I used to work for an organization, a national nonprofit that would register college students on campuses. And I love that job. So, maybe, we figure out a way to register more voters. Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you have any ideas on getting people registered and voting?
I would love to see Alina Garcia. She's got a team that goes around Miami-Dade County, and they put tables up, and it's usually at senior events. I want to see them on college campuses.
Yes.
I want to see them at community centers. I want to see them high
Seniors.
schools. 18-year-olds can vote.
Yeah.
So we got to have them wherever. It needs to be ubiquitous. We need to do a smart campaign. The same way we broke up spring break, let's make sure everybody's registered to vote, that knows, and let's not make it so complicated where people have to go through so many hoops to do it.
Hoops. Yep.
That I think needs to be addressed.
How do you feel about making Miami Beach Election Day a local holiday?
Oh, that'd be cool. If we could do that, so there's a couple things. Like we could do it where it's a holiday where the city hall is closed, like all government offices are closed. But to expand on that, I have to look into how we do that. But yeah, maybe there should be a parade. I don't know.
Yeah, something. That would be cute. How do you feel about making Miami Beach Election Day a local holiday?
Well, you get paid time off to go vote. Your employer is supposed to give you time to go vote.
Really? Everywhere?
It should. Most do. Most do. At least the places that I've worked, they encourage you to go vote, and you come in after you've voted, or you leave early to go vote. So they incentivize you to go vote.
Well, that's good.
The same way we get paid for jury duty.
Oh yeah, true.
Maybe that employer, you give them a day off, election day. but we want to make sure people go to vote and not just take a day off to go to the beach.
Not go party. Yeah. Go vote, then party. Vote in the
exactly.
morning, then go to brunch, then go party on the beach.
Go vote, then go to live.
Yeah. Regardless of what happens, what's one thing that you want residents to know about you?
I'm running because I want to help people. I'm really doing this because I like to help people. I want to help our neighborhoods. I want to help Miami Beach. And there is, a lot of big, huge macro issues like the development and the tourism and, but there's also the little micro issues like quality of life and people that say, hey, there's this hedge that's on city property and can you come, chop that down? You know what I mean? So I like it all. And I'm really doing it because I want to make a difference in Miami Beach. I want to make a positive impact in Miami Beach. And I want it to be the best place in the country.
Regardless of what happens, what's one thing that you want residents to know about you?
Oh, I want the residents to know that I'm an advocate through and through. I am not doing this for personal power or vindication. I'm doing this to give power to the residents of Miami Beach, to serve as their voice, to serve as their mouthpiece. I think a commission is comprised of a board of directors, and they have a fiduciary duty to those individuals that they're working on behalf of, not so they can tout their own agenda, but so that they can represent the Miami Beach residents ethically, in a fiduciary way, as an advocate. And that's one thing that people will take away from me. I'm a mom, I'm an attorney, I'm a guardian ad litem. I work tremendously hard and always have. And I'm a fighter. I've never given up on anything in my life. I never had the luxury to do so because I was constantly fighting a wave of adversity in my personal life. And so I think being built this way could be a tremendous asset for somebody on the dais. And I hope that they take that away from me. And if we're not successful this time around, they'll still be seeing me in Miami Beach. I will continue to serve. I'm not going anywhere.
What do you think will make it the best place?
When we have a city that runs well, that functions well, where neighbors are helping neighbors, which it already is, we just need to highlight the good about our city. And I think we just need to do that over and over again. We've got neighbors who are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, when I knocked on doors, I would have people offer me water. This one guy offered me his umbrella because it was like cloudy. Like, we really have such an amazing, loving, heartwarming community. We need to highlight that all the time, and then everybody will want to visit Miami Beach, live in Miami Beach, raise their children in Miami Beach, stay in Miami Beach.
I agree.
It's really about being like a positive place of the future.
Finish this sentence. Miami Beach will thrive when?
Miami Beach will thrive when it's not politics as usual.
Love. If you win, what's the first thing that you'll do to celebrate?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Probably hug and kiss my kids.
If you win, what's the first thing you'll do to celebrate?
The first thing to do when I celebrate, I will go to Prima Pasta with my family, or Cafe Avanti because they've been a huge supporter of mine. I will hug my children, cry with my husband, and then get to work immediately because the residents depend on us, and I will not let them down.
Love it.
Open door policy always.
Love it. Finally, why should people trust you with our beloved city?
Good question. I mean, these have all been good questions, Ava. People should trust me because I love Miami Beach. Like, this is my hometown. This is my kids' hometown. And someday I'm going to raise my grandkids here and hopefully my great-grandkids here. Like, I am going to do everything that I possibly can to make Miami Beach the best it's ever been.
I love that. And finally, why should people trust you with this city?
People should trust me with this city because I have nothing to hide. I am not beholden to anyone. And I will always advocate for what's right for our residents.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Monica,
you.
for joining me. I'm so
you.
happy to have this type of conversation because
Yes.
I don't know who else has been following along on the campaign trail, but we're not frequently as candidates rewarded the opportunity to just speak our minds.
Yes, that's true. Very true.
It's shocking. But the election is coming up. It's very, very important. So if you like Monica, make sure that you have a plan to go
you.
vote for her.
Yes, December 9th is the election day. And again, early voting is December 5th, 6th, and 7th. And I would be honored to have your vote.
And
I
how
hope
can
I
they get
earned
in
it.
touch with you if they have any follow-up questions?
Sure. My email address is monica@monicamateo-salinas.com. And I know that's long, but we can probably put it on the screen.
Yeah, we can put it on the screen.
So yeah, just email me. I'm happy to connect. And I hope I've earned your vote today.
Okay, well, thank
Ava.
you so much.
Thank you, Ava.
This was amazing.
Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you.
Monique Pardo Pope, thank you so much for coming and sharing this hour with us and helping the voters be informed.
Yes.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. Thank you. 138, I want to say my ballot
Yes.
number, just in case, Monique Pardo Pope 138. And I do want to say, Ava, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. And like I said to you in the very beginning of all of this, I know that we are on opposite sides of the conference table, but I truly believe you have the world ahead of you. The world is your oyster. You are magnetic. You are vivacious. You are beautiful. You are brilliant. And Miami Beach will absolutely thrive with you at the helm one day. So
Thank
keep fighting.
you.
Keep doing what you do. I'm sure whatever it is that you do, you'll be successful at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone make sure that you have a plan to go vote. Order your absentee ballot.
please.
Make sure you go early vote. And election day is December 9th. It's a Tuesday.
Yes. And vote with your conscience. That's all I can ask for. Vote with your conscience. Not because anybody's telling you to vote for. Vote with who you think is going to serve you best on the dais.